Hey everybody, this is Joe at Bumblin' Acres, and today we are going to have a little informative session talking about rabbits, geared at those who are interested in maybe getting into raising rabbits, what I think everyone should know who's going to be raising rabbits, especially what we have learned while raising our rabbits, which were outside our rabbit hutch. Alright, so if we're going to talk about rabbits, we got to talk about the nomenclature, the names of rabbits. And I don't mean like the breeds and such. I'll be honest, I don't even get into the breeds. We have American chinchilla style. I think they're called a giant chinchilla style rabbit. We have two of the white albino, and we have one that's a dark haired. And I couldn't tell you what breeds do what to what. That is not our purpose on our farm. On our homestead, we raised them for meat. And we actually, due to happenstance, there is our buck, who is an albino bunny, and there's some important things you should know about an albino bunny, has beautiful offspring with one of our does, and we sell those to people who want them. So, but a male rabbit is called a buck, a female rabbit is called a doe. The babies of rabbits are called kits. You'll see are called kitting when they're having their session. And we will be mating our rabbits in the next couple of weeks, so we will post a video about that at that time. Temperature is significant when you're dealing with rabbits, so that will come into it later when we discuss it as well. So, well, we've talked about the nomenclature, male, female, children. What I really think is important to understand if you are going to raise rabbits is you either need to put them in an enclosed cage system like this, or you need to have a colony-sized, secured colony area for them. They are vermin. They get eaten by just about everything, hence why they have the procreative numbers they have. So you have to secure them on your property, or they just won't make it. The predators will eat them. Another factor that comes involved is you have to separate the bucks from the does, the males from the females. This is not negotiable. It's not one where if you get a doe and a buck and you do not separate that doe and that buck, within a year you will be overrun with rabbits, and you will be beyond the capability of processing and caring for, and it's unhealthy for the doe. And the reason for that we'll get into in a minute. But so you have to separate males from females. We have 3 does. They are in separate quarters. And we have a buck which has his own quarters, and when we are going to mate them, we actually put the we do not bring the doe to the buck. We just bring the buck to the doe, and we actually put the doe in a separate area than their usual bucks. Like this, not here. We'll put in one of our enclosed cages there, or there's one out in our yard. Where we will put the bucks, or excuse me, put the does, and we'll give the bucks to the does. And at that point, bucks do their business. And like I said, we'll go into more details about that when we do that in another month or so. Important note about raising rabbits as well is the temperature is very, very, very important if you're going to be breeding your rabbits. They are small creatures. They are covered in fur. They do not handle heat well. And if you are going to have rabbits, you have to put them in an enclosed area, a shaded area, and also insulated from the wind. This carport that we have our rabbits in backs right up, there's a little breezeway to our house, but generally this is not a lot of wind comes through here, so we don't have to worry about our rabbits getting sick, and it's protected from the elements, and it's protected from the sun and the heat. We actually do have rabbit tractors, and when we are raising the offspring for meat, we move those into our rabbit tractors that we pull around the yard. But even they have a shade to them. You have to keep them shaded. Temperature becomes significant with bucks also, because a buck goes sterile when it's too hot. And too hot, somewhat, above 90 degrees generally is too hot for rabbits. It's so hard on the does, the pregnancy, that even if you were to get a doe pregnant, it would be incredibly unhealthy for the rabbit. So nature has preserved them in this manner, and that it gets that hot, and a buck usually goes sterile. And even if you didn't have them separated during the heat of the summer, they're not going to breed. But that does affect the timeline. So if you're looking at great thing about raising rabbits, you get all that meat in your freezer. They turn over very quickly. They're actually, in my opinion, like the most optimum for raising. Minimum inputs. Their turnover from meat is insanely high. They're very easy to raise, and they're good animals. We actually very much like our rabbits. So, but if you're going to raise them, don't expect all year long. Which, as a homesteader, you shouldn't expect your animals to procreate all year long. Our chickens don't lay during the winter. We don't force them to. Our rabbits, we obviously need to give them a break. Does need a break. And this becomes significant in your planning of your rabbit family, because rabbits are mammals, and so they give birth to live young. What is different about a rabbit as opposed to a deer? Deers have a season. They go into heat where they are fertile. You'll see this with dogs, where they have a timeline of fertility, where the females release an egg, and assuming they get mated in time, that egg becomes fertilized. So there's a time limit. Rabbits do not have that. The eggs within the female rabbit respond to being mated. So there's no give them a week off. Like if a buck meets a doe, mounts the doe is pregnant 99% of the time. That's the easiness of it. Rabbits have a 31-day gestation. Generally it's 30, 31, you might see 32, but it's generally like clockwork, and it's quick. So you see that 31, they do not take long before. One of the reasons you separate rabbits is because that doe can become pregnant very quickly afterwards, to the point where it's unhealthy. So you have to separate your doe from your buck so that the doe doesn't have just the pregnancy is too hard on her. So rabbits are great creatures. I really feel the primary benefit of having meat and a meat source of rabbits is incredible. A secondary benefit that may actually be more important on your homestead, even if you're not going to raise rabbits for meat, I highly recommend raising rabbits for their manure. So most animals have a hot manure, like your chickens, your cows, just about any rudiment. So you cannot apply it directly to your plants. If you do, it will kill them. It's just too hot. So you let it compost. You let it sit in about a year or so, and it kind of gets to the point where it can be added. Rabbit manure can go directly onto your plants, and it's great for your plants. You'll see we've got, you can't really see some of this, but we have a catcher where we catch the manure from the rabbits. It's a huge secondary benefit and might be primary benefit to raising rabbits. So there's one thing that I did forget in my process of talking about our rabbits, and I talked about albino. You'll see this is our buck. Our buck's name is Kenny Rogers. He is an albino, so he is a white furred rabbit, as you'll see. Now what's significant to know about an albino rabbit is that they are not actually white. They are a traditionally colored rabbit with a gene expression that makes them albino. Now this becomes significant when I show you. This is Reba, our doe. She's very pretty brown. Now, we did not know until we breeded Reba with Kenny Rogers, and we got the prettiest black rabbits with brown tinge, like a fiery tinge. Beautiful rabbits, beautiful kits. And they are the Reba and Kenny Rogers we actually sell their rabbits to people who want them for pets because they are such a beautiful rabbit. So when you get a rabbit, realize just because the buck is albino doesn't mean that all its offspring will always be an albino. You know, if both are albino, yes, you're going to have an albino offspring. But if only one is albino, it's not a guarantee you'll have an albino offspring. So those are my thoughts on that matter. Hey everybody, so I was actually going to post this video around this time today, and I was talking to one of my friends last night about rabbits, and there is something that every rabbit raiser, this is set in this time. Right now it's August 2020, and in the United States, I'm not sure in the rest of the world, I know in the rest of North America, and I'm assuming in South America, this is probably a disease that something that's going on that's going to affect the world. But there is a rabbit hemorrhagic fever disease, or rabbit hemorrhagic disease, that is spreading across the United States. Started out west, moving gradually east. It is incredibly contagious, and it's basically like the rabbit Ebola. Disease onset very, very quickly, almost 100% lethality. And it's actually one of the reasons why, if you go around the United States right now, it's rather difficult in some places to get rabbits. Because they're having to, those who do have rabbit operations are quarantining their flock. It's so incredibly contagious that there is talk of, if you have it on your boots when you walk into your rabbit area, your rabbits will catch it. Due to the proliferation of rabbits, any disease that a rabbit has, it will spread very, very quickly just from sheer numbers. So if you are raising rabbits, you should be aware. Part of the reason that I don't recommend the colony design, where you literally just have a space without it being kind of more of nature's design, just put a wall around something and let the rabbits go to town, so you're not able to control the interactions. Where in ours, our rabbits interact with each other. We do put them into another enclosure for breeding purposes. We do not have them breed in their current abodes, so we're able to control their exposure and risk for the disease. The disease has not made it out to Kentucky and Indiana, where we are yet, but due to the proliferation of the disease in rabbits, it's expected to get here. It's only a matter of time before it does. So if you are raising rabbits, that is something you should be aware of. There is a rabbit illness, rabbit hemorrhagic disease. You can look it up online. No known cure for it. It's one of those where you just let it run its course. I'm thinking of all kinds of things that we did not talk about that should be important if you're thinking about getting rabbits. And one is feed. Now, rabbits have got to the point where they have a feed for rabbits, and it's rabbit pellets. Now, generally, when we raise our animals, we're trying not to feed them this industrialized food source. It is designed to feed a rabbit all day. Doesn't need more than that. It gives them all that they need. They're very simple creatures in terms of their metabolical needs, and once you have that, they will eat that. You give them some hay, you know, they will be happy as a clam. You give them water, boom, rabbits are great. So your feed source makes it very, very easy. So we get our feed from, actually we had someone who had an extra couple bunches of rabbit feed that we utilize, but any of the big stores will be fine for that. There isn't like a medicated, unmedicated rabbit approach. So it's not like with chickens where you're trying to avoid grain or things of that nature. I'll go into more detail. There are some other things to know about them if you get into it, but that's generally, in my opinion, what you need to know to start off raising rabbits. So if you have any questions about it or what we do here on our homestead, give us a call and let us, or give us a call, comment and let us know. Please like and subscribe. Don't forget the notification bell. We raise all kinds of different animals. We're on like a rabbit kick right now, but we raise turkeys, chickens, pigs, geese, rabbits. We have a garden, so you name it, well, we're probably raising it or close to it. So hope you've had a great and wonderful day. It's Joe at Bumbling Acres. Bye.